We're back, people, and today we're breaking down film on Anthony Weaver's defense, going over how he loves these post-snap coverage rotations. Like, keep an eye on a lot of the safeties and the nickels in these videos. This is something I think really excites me for the future of this defense, is what they were doing from pre to post-snap coverage rotations. Lots of Tampa 2, mixing in cover 3, inverted Tampa 2 stuff, using the nickel to drop to the deep half. It's a lot of fun. This Rams game is a really good example of it because the defense didn't even give up a touchdown this game. It was holding the Rams to constant field goals, and it was a lot of check downs, confusing Stafford. Like, he was still getting completions, but it was never after that first read because of a lot of the different looks that they were able to rotate into. And I think that combined with the pressure they can get up front quickly, and I think a lot of the different pressure packages that they bring combined, I think that's why, combined with this post-snap coverage rotation, that's why, maybe you saw them put less of an emphasis on the secondary. Have your safeties, do a lot of different stuff. Ask them to just confuse people. I think, that's a big reason they kind of wanted to bring Mink in and, some of the other guys. I think that is kind of how they're going to get up front with the maybe lack of talent, especially at the corner position, being able to confuse and manipulate. And you're going to see a lot of those different looks up here. So here, this ends up being, if you look at this, you're seeing a potential too high shell. This kind of looks like it would be quarters pre-snap based on the positioning of the safeties in the corners. But watch Elijah Campbell here. They're in a 3-safety set, but the other 2 safeties kind of sit on it. So, like, once he's reading this, Stafford could still think, like, it's a split field safety look, like quarters, by seeing this. But with how they play it, it almost gives a Tampa 2 look, but turns into cover 3 with Elijah Campbell from the line of scrimmage, gaining enough depth to be a deep third safety, and then the 2 safeties become hook defenders. If you now watch Stafford's eye, he gets a completion, but Stafford's one of the best QBs in the league when it comes to this type of stuff, and they were still able to confuse him long enough because he goes from 1 to 2, and then now he's just finding a check down, just constantly not allowing plays to develop down the field. And when you're doing this type of stuff versus worse quarterbacks, this is why you can just slow things down, and I think up front, you're going to be even better with better edge play. You're going to be able to get after it, and that's kind of what they did in this game. Force a lot of quick, check downs, and then once you actually do get them into a 3rd and long situation, allow someone like Chop to get after it or get a pressure look later. But these types of plays is what really excites me with Anthony Weaver. Here's another example. This is a nice little Tampa 2 invert. If you see what they got going on here, Poyer in the single high. Looks like this could easily be a cover 3. Dolphins ran a lot of cover 3 last year. But with how this rotates, Poyer goes to deep half. Cater Coe, who's the nickel, rotates out to the other deep half, and Javon Holland plays as the Tampa Mike defender. So they go 2 invert with the nickel going to one of the half parts of the field. Stafford kind of thrown off by this. He's kind of gives a little pump, hesitates. He thinks, he thinks Ramsey's not going to play the flat just based on what he was seeing pre-snap, but Ramsey ends up being a deep third defender. Now I realize, I'm going to, I can't fake and get Ramsey to bite on this and then throw into that hole. It ends up, going here. Boom. Brooks is able to close ground on that underneath. Just really good work. I love all the different looks. Just another example. This is pure Tampa 2 invert. This shows cover 3 pre-snap, like where your corners are aligned, but your safety who's playing single high ends up going down into like the Tampa 2, just constantly forcing checkdowns underneath in this Rams game. And this is when they were able to really bend but not break at all because they held the Rams to like 5 field goals. And, Rams, one of the better teams in the NFC that season. This was truly one of Anthony Weaver's masterclass. Same for this Texans game. I thought he did really well. The defense had a strong game for this one. Here's another example of just the Tampa 2 invert. Dolphins loved to run Tampa 2 last year, but then just do it like this Tampa 2 invert where your corners end up playing as deep half defenders. Usually, the deep half are the 2 safeties, but they become deep half. I believe Holland and I think Elijah Campbell end up going to play the flats, which is usually what the corners do. And then your other safety kind of rotates down and plays that middle of the field like a Mike. You get a quick pressure up front. Stroud can't get rid of the ball super quickly. And this is where you can just mirror your pressure. You marriage it together. You marry it with your looks on the back. And it's just so confusing. And like up front, you're showing blitz. This looks like it could be, a potential cover 1, even, maybe cover 0, depending on how you play it. But they go out, they bring a fire zone blitz, They end up still bringing five, so five-man pressure. They get quick looks, but you're still able to rotate out. Boom, your two linebackers uh, right here, or your edge, Ogba gets to number 2, kind of take away the potential quick throw. Walker gets to number 3. Kader Kohu, who's a nickel, ends up rotating to deep half. It looks like it's going to be single high. Holland goes to the other deep half. And now you get the pressure combined with the post-snap coverage rotation. It's just so confusing. Constantly doing these slightly different variations of Tampa 2, whether it's like true Tampa 2 invert or the nickel, goes back to play deep half. And then you have that ability to get quickly pressure up front. And I think you'll be even better at getting pressure up front this season with, guys returning like Jalen Phillips and Bradley Chubb to combine with Chop Robinson and Zach Sealer. You also drafted Kenneth Grant. Like, it's going to be really, really fun to watch that sort of cook together. So, like, there will be games I'm sure the secondary gets taken advantage of, but I think there'll be a lot of games like this where, like, even facing really good, like, passing offenses, I think Weaver can still do a lot of this stuff to take advantage of QBs and poor offensive line play. Like, here's another variation of Tampa 2. Like, look at this potential. Like, look what happens here. Where they are pre-snap. Ramsey ends up blitzing. Campbell bumps down, replaces Ramsey in the flat. Then your two safeties rotate deep. It still ends up being, a basic Tampa 2, but it's that post-snap coverage rotation. You get Agua coming in free. Purdy has to release, and then even with Purdy escaping, they end up covering it up. Just really, really well. No completions. Here, Ramsey, this is how I expect to see like Minka use the season, constantly rotating around, because Minka has a very versatile skill set, and this is how I wanted Ramsey to be used a lot through the season. But since he is more of a corner, there's a lot of reps where he's just lined up at outside corner. But with Minka, I think there's a lot of times where he's going to be able to move all around the field. Look at Ramsey bail from this pre-snap location, bail out to single high. Here's another variation of, it looks like it might be two high safety, but your safeties rotate down, and they play as the hook defenders. Ramsey becomes the single high safety. Chop's able to win. Like, how many times have we watched this play from Chop's perspective where he beats two guys real quick? And it was also just a great job on the back end, confusing people up front. It was a 3rd and long situation. You bring some blitzes. Looks like it might be single high. Nope. You still end up bringing two defensive linemen drop back. You still have two high look. And even though you leave a receiver open with the pressure, forces May and the receiver to be slightly off, not on the same page there, and they miss it and don't end up completing it. That's why I love seeing that stuff. So, like, this is going to happen, where a receiver gets open, but if you're able to rush the process in these situations, it forces QBs and receivers to have to be on the same page to be, honestly perfect a lot of times, and this is where you can force mistakes to happen. And I'd rather take the chance doing this than rather, just getting beat one-on-one, leaving, potentially corners who aren't the most talented on the back end. Here's, Chop getting another quick coverage. Great job rotating. You rotate the nickel to deep half. Like, this isn't common, by the way. Like, if you don't understand coverages super well, usually in, like, this is Tampa 2, which is your corners are playing the flat. Ramsey's a flat defender. Storm duck flat. Safety's deep half. This is normal. Safety deep half. Your corners in the flat. That's normal for cover 2. Your nickel is usually not the deep half defender, but they rotate Kader Code to play deep half a lot. This can confuse quarterbacks. Then your other safety comes down and plays as like the Tampa Mike, where he's playing this middle of the field. You got these two guys playing hooks. It just takes stuff away. Quick throws, forces QBs to have to speed up a process, go from one read to another, just confuse them. It's what Weaver, I think, was really, really good at last year. Here's another example. Too high potential look. You end up bringing, a nice little stun up front, force Stafford to get it out quickly. You confuse some stuff. You're playing man, not usual man. Dolphins go one robber, but they're playing man match. So Walker, who's in man-to-man with a tight end, once this guy breaks to the inside with this robber safety, he can pass this off. So then Walker replaces the robber and becomes the rat. That's usually, the linebacker who's, in the middle of the field in cover 1. You have a deep safety. Everyone else is man-to-man. And your safety's either robbing in the middle, or this linebacker is usually called one rat. He comes off of it. He passes it off. Kind of, confused. Ball gets kind of tipped at the line. Walker comes away with an interception because of those marriage of the pressure up front with your stunts and then the coverage rotation and just being disciplined, doing stuff on the back end. A lot of stuff to like with with what Weaver was doing. Here, this is where you get to see how quarters can work versus potential, 3-by-1 formations where you still bring 5. Love the pressure look up front. Then look at these 2 guys dropping to coverage. Your edge, I think that might be Tyus Bowser. He goes out to find the number 2. Get to number 2, kind of take that away. Middle field linebacker kind of finds number 3. You got the quarters look on the back end from the corners there, and you just get a quick pressure look up front. There's nowhere, since your linebackers get to 2 and 3 real quick, there's no real quick option for Stafford to go to because the tight end and running back are blocking in the backfield. Number 1 on the outside is a deep pattern. Then you get a quick pressure look. That's just really textbook stuff from the Dolphins defense. This Rams game was really good from them. I would say the Rams and Texans game were the most impressive games in terms of like uh, opponents faced because those are you're facing 2 pretty good quarterbacks, both coming from actually similar systems too. Kind of coming from that Shanahan tree. McVay came from that tree. A little bit different style there, but also with what Sloak was doing. Uh, and that's a good offense to be able to counter. And then obviously like this Patriots game, he was dominant against them too. It was holding them very low scoring, and they had a really good game versus a lot of maybe not so good offenses. But just love the constant rotation. Like nothing even special here, but just even the little stuff. Rocking this safety down. Safety goes middle of the field. You bring you're showing potential pressure. You still bring 5. You work a stunt. You get people coming in quick. Uh, Force the ball quickly out of Drake May's hand. Another variation of Tampa 2, where Holland looks like he's going to be like a nickel that plays the flat. Nope, he goes to the middle of the field as your Mike guy. Quick pressure up front. You know, Force the QBs constantly off their spot. That's what you want to see. This is really, really easily the thing that gets me most excited for the defense this upcoming season is to watch how Weaver allows the defensive front to take advantage, but then this coverage stuff on the back end is so interesting, especially with the talent, because if Weaver is able to make like at least like if you're a decent pass defense, you're feeling really good about Anthony Weaver, especially because teams are gonna look at the Dolphins secondary, Dolphins corner room especially, and think like that's the least, like that's the worst group in the league at that position. And if he can, get around average play, that would be amazing for the whole team. And I think Weaver can do it with this type of scheme combined with, your front being healthy because your front is super important for getting the pressure because that can, really make up for a weaker secondary. So if you guys know what to do, like, comment, and subscribe. And